We're back to look at smaller scale neighborhoods to better understand defensible space, especially through the lens of zones of responsibility and the great portals from the private into the public. Neighborhoods where houses add immeasurably to the quality of life, which in turn adds to the safety and well-being of its inhabitants. Entrances of understanding. How you enter a building helps to tell the story between the world outside, out and about in the neighborhood, and the inside world of each individual piece of architecture. I believe that this notion is critical to our understanding if we love a place that we live in or a place that we're visiting. In this second of two episodes, we're looking at the threshold between the public and the private built world. We'll keep moving around the same neighborhood as in our first example, looking to explain what I mean. I'm an architect, decades into my career. I love the collective beauty of great streets and public places, and how a collection of buildings can participate in the even greater work of architecture, the great public places and great outdoor rooms of our cities. Understanding entry and transition helps us to get the creation of a wonderful neighborhood or street right. Everyone has some obligation, fulfilled or not, to contribute to the street and the neighborhood by making a welcoming yet conditional portal from their street into their property. Note that this portal varies from place to place because the feel, the culture, the climate is different from place to place. The beach vibe is different than an extremely dense city, and the owner of a castle is free to adjust accordingly. The inward constraints that are assumed, the private needs of places where one lives, are inherent to good architecture. We see that these zones of responsibility, with their insulating layer of well-being, are key to providing good design. We start with the internal needs of safety and well-being, and then we consider providing for the external, the place we all share. There is a balance between the two. The inside and the outside, the private and the public. Let's go into more examples from our affluent, low-density neighborhood. To make this more fun, let's give a score to each example. How good are these examples at providing a zone of well-being for residential inhabitants? And how good are they at participating in providing interest along the street? Are we getting interesting features and opportunities for interaction or not? Here's some considerations in terms of how we can score this. How do each of these examples fulfill our ultimate goals? Is it providing clear and welcoming, yet conditional entrance portal from the street? Do we see an obvious zone of transition, offering inhabitants some notion about what's going on in the world outside their walls, and a limited glimpse of interest from the public into the private, always mindful never to invade the ultimate privacy of each home? Does it fulfill the contract between the public and the private realms? Do we see a zone of well-being? Is our example a participant in making a great street? Here's how it faces the street, a welcoming display. There is a large living area window and a front porch signaling openness, yet the change of elevation allows a private outlook. The welcoming display gives the street and the neighborhood a lift. So, this interface provides a sense of well-being for the folks inside and for the people on the street below. It really is a positive contributor to the street. Let's give it a 5. Less welcoming than the first, the entry is a little unclear. You can see the defensible space around the property, and there are good proportions of materials. There is some engagement from the public to the private, so the contract is fulfilled, just barely. I assume there are outdoor areas that serve the house. We just can't tell from the street. This house makes a contribution, but it could do a little bit better. Let's give it a 4, although my scoring may be a bit high. How about this place with the decorative but transparent perimeter? A beautiful fence and landscaping that you can look through defines the zone between the public and the private. This is a rich interface. The private and the public is just a bit stingy, but it definitely works. It must be great to experience the feeling of well-being around this home, while still getting some of the glimpses of the world outside. The richness of the perimeter makes up for the limited interaction. Let's give it a 4. A classic Southern California high hedge with a solitary fancy gate. A hedge and a semi-ornate gate doesn't create much of a zone of transition. Here, there is no reaction between the private and the public. This is a fail. No doubt there are some very pleasant grounds around the house on this property, so hopefully there is some internal well-being. This house makes no contribution to the street, not really. Hard to muster up a point on this one, so we'll give it a 0. This is another hedge property, save for one exception, this gap. There is a meaningful view and an actual transition from the street. To be real, this is a limited interaction between the house and the street, but the terms are met. Here, the inhabitant must have a sense of well-being around this home, feeling private and yet in touch with the outside neighborhood. We have a small but meaningful contribution to the street. Let's give it a 2. This is right next door. More hedge, but with a more thought-through and successful response. We have a sequence of a forecourt, front yard with a pathway, and the front doors, an excellent counterpoint to the wall of the hedge. This house is very private, but the engagement to the street is excellent. Terms fulfilled. This is right next door. Pretty private. This house has a great sense of the public and the private, and how you get from one to another. So this house makes a good enough contribution. Let's give it a 4. So the relatively simple and unassuming house on the hill wins, with the motor court a close second. Okay, that was fun. Entrances are a qualified welcoming device into a property. Come on in if you're okay. Repeating this over and over makes a neighborhood interesting and vital. I think we need some variation of this at every residence, every building that participates in the street. Thanks again for being a part of the Crafted City.